Good morning, Manchester United fans all around the world. Welcome back to the channel. This is Mick Ruby, of course. A little bit late, a little bit 24 hours reacting on the Sir Jim Ratcliffe interview that was held with Garry Nevile on the Overlap on Sky and also by BBC. On this channel, what we're going to do here, we're going to analyze everything that's been said, cool and composed, with logic and reasoning. Not overreacting, because we've seen a lot of overreaction. We're asking the question, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, how are you going to clear the debt? Most important thing, your debt is not ours. And of course, Glazers' debt is not yours either way. So what is the overarching plan? This is what we're going to discuss. And how are we going to win the titles and trophies again? And I think that there was a lot of details that have been, covered in yesterday's interview. And arguably to say there's been lot of reactions, negative and positives. We all want the same thing. We dream the same thing. We want Glazers out and we want Man United to be successful. And he's gone over everything from the finances, what needs to be done, Ruben Amorim, the Glazers, why he bought United, and stick around to the end of the video, how he's going to sort of take full control of Manchester United, the way we understand. Guys, this is Mick Ruby from Mufc Reels TV. Good morning to you. Stretch your arms and legs. Get involved in the comment sections. Like and subscribe early. Let's go. Let's take a 30 seconds coffee break. Drink your coffee, smash the like while we play the jingle. Good morning. Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
Good morning. Okay, let's go, people. How are you feeling? And the question I always ask, how do you feel to be Man United fans today, especially after that interview yesterday held by, Overlap, Garry Nevile and Sir Jim Ratcliffe and also BBC? I've seen that a lot of people have said, well, Garry Nevile, compromise, you shouldn't be asking these interviews, and particularly when you are part of the project Regeneration and the rebuild of the stadium XYZ. But there were some really good questions fired by Garry Nevile regarding the Glazers and why did you allow, why did you sort of help the Glazers to buy the club XYZ? We're going to dive into that as well. Certainly there was certain questions that Garry Nevile could have asked, but he didn't. And you might lead it to a spin. But I'm thinking hang on a second. Glazers has never spoken to us for the past 18 years, never mentioned anything. So I give it a little bit of a benefit of doubt. It could have been a better interview, but there was a lot of things that was disclosed in terms of why you're doing what you're doing. What is the overarching plan? And barring that, we haven't heard from the owner speaking to us for 18 years. It was a little bit of a glimpse to the future, what they're trying to do. And at the end of this video, I'm thinking what I'm thinking, Sir Jim Ratcliffe just didn't pump in 2 billion without just being a part-time owner or, as a vanity project. Certainly you're a billionaire and certainly you're pumping in some money with a plan to have full control at the end of the day. Like what we do in the transfer market where we are going in on amortization, we do 5 years installment plans. This is kind of the way I see they planning out. They are shrewd businessmen, potentially selling knees, potentially selling the assets. And we've seen that the Trawlers Limited that bought the Class B in the first place has been now transferred over to, let's say, Ineos. I'm sorry, I got my TV coming on. Let me just switch it off. By the way, get your comments loaded in right now. I'm going to just switch off my TV because it's automatically switched off and you can hear the background. And I'm a little bit concerned about copyrights. Hang on a second. I'll be back in a couple of seconds. Woo!
Is this a serious proposition that we can take on the Russians on our own?
Bloody hell. Sorry about that one. Yeah. Disruption is what we don't like. And yeah, I mean, in this interview, it's clearly arguably to say that Ratcliffe doesn't really understand modern days football, like, you know, especially when he went into, you know, Ruben Amorim, and he's like, you know, well, look at Ruben, how he's played against Arsenal. We can look at the overall wage bill, and the ones that wouldn't play. I mean, there's equally to what Bournemouth and all them. But look where Bournemouth is. So obviously he doesn't really understand. He doesn't really get involved in the bigger picture. Like, you know, he's there for the financial reasons only. He spoke about Xerxes, like, you know, did well. Xerxes need to adapt, and the recruitment strategy and XYZ. But however, we're here to sort of discuss, you know, the overarching plan. I mean, we're looking at the reason for the ticketing hikes, the cost cutting, and what do you need to do? And obviously, for me, it's clear in a business or in a club, what he explained, that we are here to fix the foundation first, meaning we got the best-in-class people, the operations. Now we're going into the recruitment and back Ruben Amorim. He spoke about Ruben Amorim, saying that Ruben is doing a fantastic job. Ruben is there for the future, and we're going to build a squad around him. How are you going to recruit? With what money? And he said basically, like, you know, if I didn't pump in 300 million, we'd be bust and broke and going into the administration come Christmas, come, you know, November. And surely as a Man United fan, we don't want our club to cease to exist, to go into, you know, bankruptcy. I did a video about this, like, you know, 2 months ago when I called it Rest in Peace Man United. And I called it out because I follow the money, I follow the finances. So I'm willing to give Ineos a benefit of the doubt because I kind of understand it is a hard task to do. You know, 18 years of mismanagement, financial mismanagement, and you're trying to sort of make Man United great again. Yeah, it's been incidents where, you know, the sacking of Ten Hag, the sacking of Dan Ashworth, and I kind of, you know, like that he put his hand up and said, yes, it was me. We fucked up. And if you are man enough to put your hand up and say, yeah, it was our mistake, then of course you got to listen further. Anyway, big up to everyone. Good morning to you. I'm going to shout you out, whoever is in the morning. Thomas Fejenes is in here to say, good morning, Thomas, all the way from Sweden as well. Curtis87 is here as well. They won't ever sell in full. It's a reality we have to face and look at what's going on, what's going to be the norm for years to come. Exactly, and that is exactly what we're going to talk about here today, Curls as well. You keep saying also that they won't sell in full. Yeah, that's the same. Yeah, they won't sell in full. Reality is we will at best part sell another stake, but the cash goes into the pockets of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, have known the mess he bought us in. Yeah, we're going to talk about that as well. Anyway, D Trizzy, evening from Australia, bro. Interesting interview. Dropped my time this morning. I give Sir Jim Ratcliffe credit for fronting up. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here, and I'm trusting him follow through. True, we got to look at the two sides of the story, guys. Like, you know, 100%. Good morning to you as well, Mr. Okache Innocent. Good morning. How are you doing? Let me know in the comments. Let us get flowing. Let's stretch your arms and legs and start right into the question. You know, of course, we all ask the question, why did you buy Manchester United? Why? Everyone's saying you're a broke billionaire, but why did you buy Man United? And this is the question that we have to ask. And he actually said it. He said it himself. Like, let's bring this to the stage and play this clip.
I don't need that, really, to be honest, at my age.
Why are you doing it?
Yeah, so basically the question here was, you faced a lot of scrutiny. Like, you bought Man United on 27%, and now, you know, you're taking all the Glazers' heat. Why are you doing that? And he said, basically, I don't need it at my age. So he's
I don't need that, really, to be honest, at my age.
Why are you doing this?
Why?
Because I really like Manchester. You know, Manchester United has been my boyhood club. So, and I believe that we can sort it out. If I didn't believe it, we wouldn't. You know, I wouldn't do it, would I?
So he said, I believe we can sort it out. If I didn't believe it, I wouldn't even invested in it. So, yeah, that's interesting because Manchester United is the biggest club in the world. And he said he's a boyhood fan club. But does it really have, you know, a clear understanding why the fans are upset? We're going to find out as well.
I'd, you know, sell it to the Qataris or something. I don't want to. I think we'll get there with Manchester.
Well, we could have sold it to Qataris. That's it. Like, you know, we had an opportunity to have a full sale only. Sir Jim Ratcliffe went in first to acquire 51%. But I think that he had a master plan, and this was the project Regeneration. That's why he lowered down his bid to 25% to go in and have a 5-year plan. This is clear and obvious, and we're going to dive into further in why I think so.
Manchester United is the greatest football club in the world. It's the world's favourite football club. It's the biggest football club. Everywhere I go on the planet, there are Manchester United supporters who want to come and talk. Everywhere I go. I mean, last summer we crossed the border between Mongolia and China. We were the first Europeans to cross the border from Mongolia to China. And as soon as we crossed the border, we were surrounded by Manchester United supporters.
And that is so true. Guys, I do travel football. I travel around the world wearing this Manchester United shirt. And everywhere I go, I always meet Man United fans. Like the other day, I was in PP Island in Thailand, and everyone, Man United, yeah. And everyone have a chat with you about the current situation, where we're going to be, XYZ. Man United is the biggest fan club in the world, arguably to say, and attracts the most attention by the media. Big up to everyone as well. Good morning from you. I can't read your name, but I can see you're from Greece. Morning from Greece. Keep protesting, boycotting, fight for a club full sale only 100%. Nick Spooner is in here as well, saying if Jim puts more money in and wants shares for this, I push him over the 30% and would have to make an offer for the club. Glazers are not going to do this. They're not going anywhere. We're going to talk about that how. So bear with me. That's a very valid point, Nick Spooner, as well. But, you know, the interview dropped yesterday, and then we saw a lot of reactions. I was traveling. I was watching it on my mobile phone. I saw Goldbridge. I saw a lot of fan channels talking about it with a negative connotation. And I do understand that a statue of Mark Goldbridge is saying, why didn't you ask the right question? Let's hear what Goldbridge has to say.
If you are in a room with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, everybody repeat to me, what's the first question you're going to ask? And you're not going to let go. You're not going to sit there with a smile on your face and go, review your 12 months. That was the first question. Yeah,
review 12 months. And he answered that question, what they did, what they have to do.
Review your 12 months, Sir Jim. Well, Manchester United. The first question should have been, and he never even asked it, the first question should have been, why did you save the Glazers? Why did you rescue the worst thing to happen to Manchester United in 20 years? And why do you think that saving the Glazers is going to make you popular and make Man United better?
I think Goldbridge has a point here. Why did you save the Glazers? That is what everyone is asking. Why? And what does it mean make you popular? Well, Jim said it like, you know, the decision that I took here, I know I'm not going to be popular, but I look at it the long-term perspective in change. That's the thing. So that stems back into he initially wanted to acquire 51%, but went down on 25%. So he's got to have a plan here and what he's meant to do. So I agree that this is emotional reaction. Why? I mean, I also reacted that. Why didn't you ask the question? Why did you save the Glazers? But we're going to go over the interview further down and sort of discover why.
We didn't get that question. So you can defend Garry, you can say it was a good interview, you can say what you bloody well like, but if you actually care about this football club and you're angry about where it is, the question you want is why did you rescue the Glazers and why do you think your way is the way? Why do you think cuts are the way to take Manchester United Football Club back when every other club in history that's been successful has spent money?
Well, the answer is it's very simple, Mark, you know, and everyone, you know, if you look at the 18 years of the mismanagement, we all seen it. We know that the debt is about 1 billion here, right? What are you going to do? You come in as a custodian to run the footballing operations. What you need to do first is fix your house, fix the order, stop the bleeding. And we have lost money 7 years consecutive row. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe explains that further down in this video, which we're going to sort of react to as well. You know, so you need to start somewhere, in my opinion, right? And the first things first, get your house in order, you know, get the best in class footballing operation people, build that foundation first, then you go on recruitment, and then you attack the revenues and how you're actually going to service that debt at the end of the day, you know? So let's keep that in mind. Let's keep that in mind. Sida is saying, I don't know how Ineos are going to back Amarin this summer. We don't know either. We don't know either, but it's obviously going to be sell to buy a lot of academy players as well. They are short of cash, and unless they sell players, they're not going to make money for new players. We are short on players with the value. And that is very interesting point what you mentioned here as well, to be honest, right? It's very interesting what you said, because he mentioned something very interesting. If you look at the players we're buying this summer, he said, we're buying Casemiro, we're buying Onana, we're buying Højlund, we're buying Sancho. And these are not the players that we bought. But if we don't buy anyone, we still have to write a check of 80 million. So you get it? Like, they are trying basically to go and say, this is the fault of the former CEO, Richard Arnold, the former CEO, Ed Woodward, John Murtaugh madness, and what they did, you know? They were the one that were operating the club. And they did silly things. They did inflation while the club was losing money. They employed more people, adding on more pressure to the financial burden. You know what? But let's keep this in mind. I'm not being judgmental in any way. I'm looking at the two sides of this story, right? One side is that Glazers has always been involved, sitting in the background, but Glazers don't understand football. This is an investment. This is an asset. I'm not pretending I hate them to the core of my bone, right? But you can imagine that they appointed certain people to run the footballing operation that totally fucked up. And that when actually Arnold came out to say, well, we spent 1 billion on players acquisition with nothing to show for it. It is just a pure fuck up of applying manager after manager, recruiting players on shirt seller basis on what their manager's style of play is. And here we are right now with Ruben Amorim, and it looks like Ruben Amorim is doing a great job, and Ruben Amorim is going to be backed. So this is ground zero where we have to start. We have to start the bleeding in terms of losing revenues and start building a proper foundation. What Liverpool has done, what City has done, what everyone has done. This is what we fans want about. This is what we want, in my opinion. But anyway, good morning, Zeus, as well. Good morning to everyone. Good morning for coming in. The more the merrier, the more we get involved. Like, we need to apply logic and reasoning here. Hi, Mick. My take, a lot of BS by Ratcliffe. Cutbacks needed, but paying the Glazers 1.3 billion to keep them there. We had a chance of full sale only, but the ego wouldn't allow that Glazers out. Yeah, I agree with you. But there must be a method to the madness, and this is the key point takeaway of this video. Why did you put 1.3 billion, and why did you put in extra 300 million? What you said, if you didn't do that, the club will go in bankruptcy come November, December here, right? You got to look from a billionaire's perspective as well. Why did you do this? Why? And why? What is it? What's in it for you? Where is the 5-year plan for Ineos? Obviously, for me, it is a full takeover control, taking over the stake of the Glazers. And we're going to talk about the new stadium as well. What does that mean? And how you can fizz out the Glazers. So stick around for that one. Let's just do this, people. Let's just go in straight into the interview that happened yesterday, and let's analyze it. In terms of what was said and done, let's play this.
Feel like you're correcting the mistakes of previous recruitment cycles?
Correcting mistakes.
I think I'm gonna start cutting carbs. I need to drop my belly fat.
Damn,
That's the
commercials.
most interesting weight loss fact I learned.
Well, I don't really want to sort of. We've inherited a situation which we've inherited. It's not.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. They inherited the situation, the mess what the previous regime did, and they're trying to fix it up. I'm not going to sugarcoating it, but I'm going to be real.
It's mad, isn't it? Some of the contracts that have been given out.
Yeah, there's some decisions that we clearly would not. I mean, and also if you look, it's quite interesting. If you look at the players that we will buy this summer that we did not buy, in other words, we're paying for. That's Anthony. We're buying Anthony this summer.
Yeah, Anthony, 90 million. Everyone knew that John Murtaugh madness, we could have got him for 25. John Murtaugh went on a holiday and came back panic buying, and Ajax took us for the cleaner. We ended up paying 90 million, peeps, for a fidget spinner.
We're buying Sancho this summer.
Sancho,
we're buying Højlund. We're buying Casemiro.
And Casemiro was never the plan. Erik ten Hag wanted Frankie de Jong, and this was a panic buy. John Murtaugh did a madness again. We paid 75 million and actually gave Casemiro 350k a week. Who would have done that for an aging player?
we're buying a Naan.
You mean still paying for them?
Yeah, correct.
I mean, the club also.
We got it, you know, it's not a light, you know.
No.
It's not a light switch. In your day, if you bought a player, you bought a player, and that was it, wasn't it?
The club owe nearly £400 million, don't they, on players that are still in the club? 390 million, is that right? That number?
Pass. I don't know the exact number. I know the bill that we will pay this summer is 89 million for players.
89 million for players that they didn't bought. Basically, we have to write a check for the money we still own on this transfer market. Obviously, this is not their fault, but this is what they're trying to fix.
Who have been signed previously.
Previously, 89. I said we buy no players, we write a check for 89 million pounds.
Exactly. Madness.
I mean, you mentioned Ruben's playing style before. He has got a rare playing style in terms of the system.
This is very interesting. Will you back him in the summer? You know, this is your guy.
Yeah.
And I suppose I'm asking you the question, next summer, you're going to have to recruit to that specific system. The wing backs, the two players that play in behind Hoyland or behind centre forward. The two. Are you unequivocal that you're going to make that step and back Ruben and he's going to be here at the start of next season, considering the results that have happened?
This is a massive question, what we want to know, right? Will you back Ruben Amorim in the summer? Because Ruben inherited a squad that is not his. They cannot play the style. So what are you going to do about it?
I'm unequivocal about that, but bear in mind, I am backing the management team. Because at the end of the day, it's Omar, it's Jason, it's the management team that operate Manchester United.
Who appointed Ruben then?
Who appointed Ruben? Omar and Jason and me.
So basically, this is a man that is a part-time owner. He doesn't get involved in the nitty-gritty, right? He's involved in the bigger picture, you know? This is clear and obvious, right? That's why you have Omar Barada as a CEO. That's why you have Jason Wilcox. That's why you have Christopher Vivell. This is a full team now assembled in order to hit the ground running in the summer, because that has been established. That's been the year of putting the right footballing operation in place, looking at the overarching, how are we bleeding money? How are we going to make the money? How are we going to survive? How are we not going to be bankrupt? I put 300 million in order for us to get bankrupt, to buy ourselves time. But now in the summer, we are going to back Ruben Amorim, and that is what I want to hear. How are you going to do it? I don't really care, because I don't run the P&Ls of the club.
Made that decision. Looking at what happened with Dan, obviously Dan came into the club. And I mean, I've worked with Dan. He headed up a transformation at the FA whilst I was there, and he's done.
This is interesting regarding Dan Ashworth, right? Dan Ashworth, which we all thought that, this is the new sporting director to lead the change. You know, why did you spend all that money to chase him, and why did you sack him? We got a clear answer, and he said it's chemistry, basically chemistry.
At other clubs. What went wrong there? Because you chased him for 8 months.
Correct.
And he's done this type of job before, of transformation, cultural change. Why did that not work, knowing Dan as I do?
Well, you may know Dan better than I do. I'm sure, in fact, I'm sure you do. But I don't want to go into the details of it, because I don't think it serves it doesn't serve much purpose. I mean, at the end of the day, it was chemistry. Maybe a bit more than chemistry, but let's just say chemistry, and it didn't work. So
with you or with the other management team?
Just chemistry.
Just chemistry. So basically, we know that the model is that it's a team play. You know, we know that at the end of the day, Ashworth was the one protesting not to get Ruben Amorim, and it was also declared that they didn't have a lot of time regarding Erik ten Hag, because the whole team wasn't assembled as of yet, so they had to make a decision.
And I think, again, I know it's an unpopular decision and it's seen as an error, which it was, and it was an error. But again, I think slightly in our defense, we did recognize it as being something that would not work, and therefore we decided we would make a change. What would have been far easier, because of the scrutiny that we knew that we would get in the media, would have been to live with it. But I wasn't.
And this is what I agree with. This is exactly what I agree with. It's like you dating a girl or a man, whatever you swings, and you do a marriage proposal and you realize, I'd rather break it off now because this is not going to work in the long term. So I give a little bit of kudos there for putting up the hand and recognize that we did a mistake and this is not going to work. The same thing with Erik ten Hag as well, you know, which we're going to dive into this video.
Not prepared to live with it. So I think, you know, and that has to be part of our mentality at Manchester. Even though we're having to make unpopular decisions, if we think it's the right thing, then we're going to do it. And you know, there's quite a lot of unpopular decisions. I know, lunches and things like that. You know, they're unpopular decisions, but
this is the another explanatory, like, you know, you actually got rid of the lunches, right? And this is something that I cover as well. Like, how many people goes to work and the company actually provide free lunch? Not many.
Yeah, let's come on to those.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about those things. So obviously £15 million was spent to remove Eric and Dan, which are expensive errors.
correct.
Yeah, I'm just going to take 2 or 3 examples. £40,000 was taken away from the former Players Association. Now that
This is penny pinching. This is what I like Garry Nevile going into him. What about the ex-players who used to play in the 70s, 80s, 90s that was part of this before the Premier League? Why did you sort of take 40,000 quid out of them? This could be done so much easier. But listen to what Ratcliffe has to say here.
that's not the players that played under Sir Alex Ferguson or even in the last 10 years. They're players from the 1960s and 70s.
Yep.
I look at that and I have a little bit of knowledge of the club, obviously having been there for 25, 30 years. I just look at that and I think it's £40,000 from players who are giving a lot back to sort of the local community. They're obviously big supporters of United. Why not look at that 40,000 and put Harry Maguire and Bruno in a dinner?
Points.
Sell 1,000 tickets for 30, 40, 50 quid. Raise the money through a dinner. Maybe do a raffle and auction. Give the ex-players their money.
Yeah.
And do it in a way whereby you're not looking like it's a cruel decision, which it is. Why would that not be looked at as a shopping list of things that, oh, that's got a health warning to it?
And this answer tells me that he's not involved in the nitty-gritty, right? That's why he delegates certain things. And that I agree with Garry Nevile was saying, you know. Some people I can read in the comments, this was a PR disaster spin after the Glazers protest and the Ineos protest. And he's basically coming out to say, like, you know, listen, you anger at me, but the absolutely anger is on the Glazers. I'm just trying to help the club. I'm trying to get the order in the house straight. And I get that, you know, I get the sentiment. I get that might come across as a PR spin, but at least what I'm looking at least somebody is coming out to talk what's going on there, because Glazers never spoke to us. Glazers just took the money without even putting money back in. And now they're trying to sort of fix the situation, basically fix the foundation, then recruit, then fix the revenue situation, how we are going to sort of survive the next 5 years. Let's continue.
Former players, they're people who do a lot of good for them. I'm not talking about the sort of, this isn't the players who play my era, the players from the 70s and 80s. Why would that decision be made?
Well, nobody suggested that. Because I would have.
And this is nobody suggested that, because like, I don't get involved in the daily operations.
Supported that, but
Jim, that alarms me, because if people aren't suggesting that to you at the club, then
I don't think the people at the club are not. They're not. You know, most of the people at the club, they're not cruel or heartless people. But I think
it's 40 grand.
Yeah, I know, but. You know,
Harry and Bruno can just turn up for a dinner, raise 50, 60, 70, 100 grand for them. Why didn't the current players put £1,000 each in for them? You know what? Things like that. If it came to me and I was looking at a decision like that, and these guys who've been putting so much time into the club over so many years, you know, it just looks. Why can't we reinstate that?
Well, maybe we can. I don't know. I can have a look at it, but I'm not aware at that level of. Honestly, Guy, I'm not aware.
So he's basically saying, I'm not aware of that level of details. And why would you, right? You have people running the club that will do that for you.
At that
detail.
At that level of detail, to be honest with you.
But it's not defendable in my situation. It's not. But what I'm more interested in the financial realities and the details as a fan. Like, you know, how are you going to take us to the promised land, right?
But if I can say that Manchester United has lost money.
This is the interesting part.
For the last 7 years, and it's something like in the last 4 years alone, it's lost 330 million pounds.
330 million pounds has been lost. Now, pay attention to this part. You know, where we say your debt is not our debt, and as a new custodian of a football operation, it's not his debt either. So this is the solution. This is what he's trying to explain to us, guys.
It's horrific.
It's
that's
absolutely
a third of
criminal.
£1 billion in the last 4 years. During that period of time, he's been recruiting lots of new people on top of a workforce which was already enormous. So, you know, we finished up with 1,150 people.
1,150 people. You understand? 1,115 people. We've been losing revenues, but at the top of that, we've been recruiting more people into the operations. Having 1,100 people, staff.
We've increased the cost base of running. So if you look at a couple of really simple numbers in the last 7 years, since 2016, we increased the cost of running the club, which are the operating costs of running the club. So just the people and the fixed costs, if you like. So all the costs, excluding the player costs, we increased the cost by £100 million in the last 7 years, since 16. And the player salary bill increased by
inflation,
£100 million. So that went from 150 to 250. This went from 170 to 270. And in that period of time, the top line, the revenue, increased by only £100 million.
So £170 million
deficit. So you finish up with a situation which is on tenor. It doesn't work. If every year you spend more money than you earn, ultimately that's the road to ruin.
And that is absolutely correct. Everyone that owns a business, of course, you go bankrupt, right? If you spend more the money than you earn, it's the road path for bankruptcy, 100%. And I agree with that. And that was so easy explained for him.
And unfortunately, and it's not until we mentioned it a couple of times today, it's not known, Manchester United would have run out of money at the end of this year.
That's him saying, you know, he's pissed off and saying, well, if it wasn't for me, this is basically a little bit of a PR spin. If it wasn't for me, blah, blah, if it wasn't for me pumping that £300 million extra pound in, Manchester United would have run out of money by Christmas, which is absolutely true if you look at the financial figures.
November this year, the club runs out of cash.
Do you realise how...
That's sort of quite
But do you realise how bad that is to hear? I know
that's very fucking bad to hear as a Man United fan, you know. And one thing is that we don't want our club to go to a administration or bankruptcy. So therefore, I'm listening to this with a revelation to say, what? All right. And how are you going to get the Glazers out at the end of the day? How are you going to get full control? How are you going to get the debt down? We're going to dive down deeper into that further down in this video.
Well, that's a fact, by the way, because over the last 2 or 3 years, I think the fans who obviously got an interest in the business side of the club have been tracking the club's desperate situation, the mismanagement over the last 10 years. This is the richest football club in the world when it comes to revenue. Yeah, but because of top three of us up there.
Exactly, we are the top 3 richest football club in the world. How the fuck are we in this situation? This is what Garry Nevile is asking. How the fuck? So basically, he's laying it out here.
Top 3 in the world, and it's having to cut £40,000 from ex-players, and now removing food from members of staff in the canteen. I mean,
but the alternative isn't very tenable, is it? Which is the club goes bust at Christmas. We don't want that.
Exactly. Who wants that? You know, would you then go like, you know, why are we not feeding the staff? You know, why are we cutting down an over bloated, you know, staff, 1,100 people? Why? Where we are actually bleeding money, we're spending more on operations that we actually earn. So from a business perspective, you got to understand this as well. Is this necessary? What needs to be done? Because one thing is we don't want to cease to exist.
No, absolutely.
We don't want that.
No, we absolutely don't want that. But we also have to, I think, make decisions in light of sort of the impact that they're going to have. Because, you know, United, as you know, you're a fan, has a soul, has a heart. Yeah. And I think when it comes to food and Manchester United staff being fed, the idea of me eating differently than my compatriots who are in the office, the kitmen, the groundsmen, the people who are, to be fair, the sort of my friends at the club, because I was in there for 25 years, I find that difficult from an inequality perspective. Yeah.
However,
I
mean, I get that, Garry, and I understand that, but you have to deal with. We can't put our head in the sand. We have to deal with the problem, and it's a big problem, not a small problem. Because the numbers I've given you, I've just given you, the big numbers, they're not small. These are not.
They're horrific.
But this, for me, at the end of the day, this is like what we've been protesting here. This is what because nobody has spoken to about the current situation. Why are you doing what you're doing? So at least I'm a little bit grateful to hear from the horse's mouth what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? But I'm still skeptical. And I like to be skeptical.
Numbers. And as you say, this is the biggest club in the world. And if it just goes on year after year after year, what happens if you spend more money than you earn is every year you have to go to the bank and borrow more money. So every year, I know.
Is that one of the problems?
I know that's how you feel about lunches, but we have to go to the bank down the road and we have to borrow the money to give everybody a free lunch. 95% of people in the UK don't get a free lunch. I don't get a free lunch. I've never had a free lunch. Nobody in Ineos gets a free lunch. And the vast majority of people don't get a free lunch. It's a nice perk if you get one. But in the modern world, most people don't get a free lunch.
100%. How many people get free lunch from the current bosses at the work? And do we want them to go and take more loans? No, absolutely no more loans. It's all about to get rid of that loan and the interest rates, in my opinion,
And at the moment, Manchester United can't afford to give people free lunches because they have to go to the bank and borrow it. And I don't think. And at the end of the day, it's fans' money, isn't it? The fans are the guys that are paying for these free lunches because they're the guys who buy the tickets, they're the guys who pay for the TV subscriptions, and they're the guy who buys the shirts. Those are the three bits of income that Manchester United have got.
Yeah, that's correct. It's the fans' money at the end of the day. But I want to hear. This is the interesting part, what I want to hear, when Garry Nevile actually pressed him a little bit about the Glazers, right? This is what I want to hear. And we're going to transition over to why I think that they invested what they invested and what is the overarching plan, which is taking control over Manchester United.
So I sort of think of that money that we're spending at Manchester United. It's not my money, it's the fans' money. Should I be spending the fans' money on a free lunch? Or should I be spending the fans' money on a new player who might win some silver?
This is how you protect your house and family from
commercials.
This new subscription-free mini Wi-Fi camera delivered.
You've obviously talked a lot about the
Glazers
height of the club in the last few years, which I find scary with the amount of revenue the club generates. But you're obviously in partnership with the Glazer family. You wanted to take the club on your own, but obviously you've ended up with a minority stake. They've made these decisions over the last 10 years.
That's a good question.
You've put a few £100 million into the club. You're the first person in the last 25 years to put money into the club. They've taken nearly £200 million out in cash, in dividends. They've put a lot of debt onto the club, I think about £730 million, which means that the club has an interest bill every year of £40 million. 35 million pounds.
35 million to service the debt. And he's asking the direct question here. Why don't you sit down with the Glazers and ask them to put some fucking money back into the club? The Glazers is taking everything out of this club, like and never put anything into the club. But obviously they're business partners and he can't say certain things, but he's sweating here.
It's going to go up potentially in a couple of years when it matures. You're an incredible businessman. You will understand alignment in business more than anybody. Your money's being whittled away and spent.
Gone.
Exactly.
It's all gone Pete Tong. So basically the money that he gave the Glazers for the 25% stake went into the Glazers' pocket. And they gave him the rights to, here you go, here's the keys, operate, do your best, whatever you can do. He can't just not pump in money to service their debt because their debt is not his debt. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, he's looking at the situation. How are we going to do this? How are we going to survive? How are we not going to go into the administration? I get that. But the most important part is what we fans want to say. Glazers obviously not going to put in any more money into this club whatsoever. He's got a plan. I think that his plan when he went in on 25% to increase the stake of Manchester United, and this is something called debt to equity. Listen to this carefully, and we're going to dive into my strategical thinking, what I think is going to go and happen here.
Your money's going at this moment in time.
Most of that's
would it not be a question to sort of pop across the board table to say, look, guys, can you not just rock up with a little bit of cash yourselves and put some in for once? They haven't put in for 20 years, and they've taken nearly 200 million out.
It's not the solution. It's not the solution.
It is the solution. It is the solution. Seriously, it is solution. You're the majority of the owner, Glazers. You've been taking the money out, so put some bloody money in. At least put 400, 500, $500 million in, $500 million in. Please do it.
To keep throwing money at the problem.
No.
But throwing money at the problem, you have to. It's a footballing club. Being an owner of a footballing club is not to make money. It's to actually play good football. Play good brand of football. Throw money at the problem. It is exactly what you need to do. Now, what is the solution here? How are we actually going to remove the debt? Well, we're coming to that, peeps.
So
I know you have to correct the finances.
You've got to get the house in order.
But what I'm saying is,
if you look at the reason the debt is at the level it is at the moment, which is
730 million.
Yeah, it's
plus the player
650 plus a bit of
1 billion.
Overdraft, yeah. But that's increased by 330 million in the last 4 years because the club's been spending so much more than it's been earning.
Because they won't put money in.
That's not. No, that's just because it's spending more.
I know, but if you make mistakes,
it's a bloated organisation.
True and not true. Yes, it is a bloated organization. They've been losing money by, spending more at the same time, but the interest rate keeps going up with inflation. We're paying 35 million on the debt, and that's servicing the debt. That means that the debt's still there and not really moving. Yeah, it's an indefinite debt where banks are not really requiring it back, because guess what? Banks are making money on this debt. They're happy to run it further, but what are we going to do? As Ineos cannot just put in their own money into it, there's certain ways they can do to reduce the debt. And we're going to talk about that in my way of thinking. And also everyone get involved, what you're thinking.
Mistakes on recruitment.
But you're a far better businessman than anybody in this room and a lot of people in this country. You'll pay for your mistakes. You're the type of guy that I think would pay for your mistakes. Why do they not pay for their mistakes that they...
But basically, Ratcliffe, he's calling Ratcliffe up. He's definitely saying, you are a shrewd businessman. You raised up your hand for your mistakes, what you said with the sacking of Ten Hag. Why are you doing this? Why? I mean, there's a valid question. You're a shrewd billionaire. You just don't give 1.7 million plus 300 without having anything back. You got to have a plan. What is the plan, Jim? What is the plan? All we fans care about is get rid of the Glazers, get rid of the debt, so we can actually go on the transfer market and be competitive. You guys promised us that we will compete by 2028. 2028. How are you going to do this? Now, this is what we want to hear as fans.
They've made in the last 10 years. You'll put some equity back in. Why? The fans are having to pay increased ticket prices. People are losing their jobs. People are not getting fed meals anymore. But former players are having money taken away from them, and they took £200 million out. Now, I know they're your business partners. I know you can't criticise them.
I know you have the business part. I know you can criticize. Of course, he cannot say that openly in the camera. Of course not. He's not going to sit there like, he's sitting with a straight flush and show the card straight away. He's got a plan. He's got a plan how to fizz them out eventually, because they're not going to put in any money. They're not going to invest in the stadium. They're not going to do jack shit. We know who the Glazers are.
I know where you're at with this. But there's an element here of it's staring us in the face.
I don't think the solution to the problem at Manchester United is throwing money at it.
Bullshit. You have to throw money at it. You have to. There's no other way. But I understand that now you have to save money to fix the foundation first in the mess what's been created for the past 18 years in order to slim down that organization. I do understand from organizational perspective. There's been overinflated. Even they found somebody that was a body language consultant that were paying 170 quid a week. There were so many unnecessary positions. So what they've done here, we can criticize, but it's necessary measures, and otherwise we will go bust. Yeah. We could call it penny pinching, and I don't agree with it, but I look at it from a long-term vision, from a double-edged sword. I'm not moaning about it. I'm being real.
But it's not increasing the debt. If the debt's going up by 300 million.
The debt will come down.
The debt will come down, but how? This is the point. The debt will come down, but how?
If we're successful in what we're doing at the moment, the debt will naturally come. Like the debt has gone.
So he's saying if we're successful, what we're planning to do, the debt will come down. So he's got a plan, and something that we fans don't know about. We're staring at the moment we are being manscaped, right? Manscaped, trim the yard to make the bush, trim the bush to make the yard look bigger. You know what I mean? That's what we're looking at. We're staring at the debt. We're staring at how we're going to sort of win the league again, how we're going to challenge, you know, but they have a plan, and they don't sort of reveal the plan. Why would you? You know, if you have a plan to sort of fizz the Glazers out by doing something called debt to equity, we're going to get into that.
Gone up over the last 4 years because it's been losing money. If we're making money, the opposite will happen.
And every business has debts. There's no single business out there that don't have debts, but we are a footballing club. Unfortunately, Manchester United was taken over by leverage, meaning they leveraged the club when the Glazers, Malcolm Glazers, took over and put the loan onto the club. Before that, we were debt-free. But either way, if anyone is Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in and cleared it, you still cannot spend more than 30, 50, 60 million. That doesn't really going to be a write-off on the FFP. You know what I mean? So eventually the debt will come down. And how are they going to do that? This is the million-dollar question.
Is make the club, because, I mean, two things have happened with the club. One, well, a few things have happened with the club, but it's the costs of running the club have gone through the roof. The expenditure on the squad has gone through the roof, and the salary bill's gone through the roof.
Points.
And the performance has declined. So
100%.
That's all with them.
They bet the bank. They bet the bank on Champions League, but it hasn't happened. So we spent a fortune, and I'm sure that conversation went on every year. But I can't spend their money for this. That's not my. I mean,
He's basically, I cannot spend the money for the Glazers. That's not my fucking job to do. Fair play. Why would you? Your debt is not mine, what he's saying. And Glazers' debt is not the fans' debt. I'm here to mop up and try to make this work. And therefore, I give him a little bit of a benefit of that, because at the end of the day, a lot of people miss this as well.
We have a very professional relationship with the Glazer family. And to be honest, they let us get on with it, which we are doing at the moment.
You're providing a shield for them, though. You're now starting to get the flack that they've been getting.
I'm getting quite a lot of flack. Yeah.
No, Jim, seriously. I went to Fulham last Sunday.
So this is, you know, Garry Neville painting it that you're taking the Glazers' seat, right? Glazers are laughing. They're sitting there. Okay, here you go, Sir Jim. Ineos, do your thing. Take all the heat. We've been getting a lot of shit stick lately. Take over, fix the thing. Eventually, they wanted to do the cost cutting in the first place, but they didn't want to take the heat. So they gave Sir Jim the keys. It is what it is. He's the janitor to mop up, 100%. This is what I've been saying as well. He's the janitor, Steph. Good morning to you. Let's continue, because I want to come to the long-term vision, how to get the Glazers out. Because one thing we know is that the Glazers will not put one single penny into the club whatsoever. They're not going to do it. Yeah, they're taking the service fee. The interest rates is still there. The debt needs to come down, and they cannot take any more dividends out of the club, 100%. How is Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos then that put 1.8 billion out of their own pocket plus 300 million in, expecting anything back? You know, surely you're not just going to give that money away. He said it dwindle away, yes, but I'm not going to put my money into their debt. It's not my thing to do. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
You know, just as a fan, I wasn't working the game, wasn't on Sky, and I'm sat there in the crowd, and you don't actually, when you're in the gantry, hear everything because you've got the earphones on, you commentating on the game, and I was thinking, you're starting to get
quite a lot.
The slipstream of their mess, and you're getting fired at now. You're a target now.
And this is, I feel, a little bit of a sympathy, a little bit of a PR spin, like, you know, poor you, Jim. I don't think poor you, Jim. Just do your fucking job, right? You promised to put Manchester back into Manchester. We heard what you had to say. We heard about the debt. We heard about, you know, you're backing Ruben Amorim. What is the next step? Well, lo and behold, peeps, we're going to talk about that. How is he? This is the crescendo of this video. And I want to talk something about here. That's coming down right here. The vision of the future of the stadium. Censored. So I'm going to remove this commercial break, and this is live directly from YouTube, guys.
Losing 15 kilograms with walking.
Losing 15 grams.
4 months ago, I started walking for 15 minutes every day.
Come on.
This app shows.
Okay.
I said it would be a tough interview, didn't I? You did. The stadium, I sat on the last task force committee meeting on Friday, and
this is my problem with Garry Neville hosting this interview. But bear in mind that BBC also did the interview, right? Garry Neville sits on the board of the project Regeneration, the stadium build, right? Apparently, there's going to be some breaking news today. They have approved a new stadium build that's going to take place, the project Regeneration as well, by the British government and the Greater Manchester Council. They're going to build 100,000-seater stadium, knock down Old Trafford and build this within the project's going to start. It's going to be announced today, right? And apparently, Ineos is going to invest in this stadium, not the Glazers, but this is going to do through generating money from the sponsorships. Who do you have sitting there is Jean-Claude Blanc, yeah, as a board advisor. Jean-Claude Blanc did that with Juventus as well when Juventus got relegated. This is where I'm going to talk about the debt to equity and how Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to take more stake into Manchester United by doing so. Let's listen to this new stadium.
I had a glimpse of what's coming, obviously, and it looks absolutely spectacular. And you know, I've been shouting about the fact that for me, for years, there are non-negotiables with United. A great training ground, an amazing stadium, the best in class. The football, sometimes, you know, it's going to be up and down because that's the nature of football. We weren't always successful in my childhood. How excited are you by that, and is it deliverable?
It's definitely deliverable, but I think it needs to be set in context again. I think, I mean, I mean, you know, if you take the view, I mean, I'm sure it's your view as well as mine, that it's the greatest football club in the world, then if it's going to build a new stadium, it should be a new stadium that's befitting the greatest club in the world, and also a stadium that befits the greatest league in the world, because the Premier League is the greatest league in the world. And at the moment, if you look at the Premier League, we've got some great stadiums, but we don't have a Bernabeu, do we? And we don't have a Nou Camp, the new Nou Camp. We don't have that in the Premier League, although it's the greatest league in the world. And also, if you look at the north of England, the north of England has won 10 Champions League finals, and London has won 2.
So he's basically going to dive in to say that the government has already spent on London, the O2, the you know, everything else. It's time to invest in northern England, basically in Manchester. So
there's quite a few reasons there to have the world's most iconic football stadium in the north of England, you know, at the world's greatest club. And I think, but the thing that puts it in context, which I think everyone has to understand, is that we've got 2 options. We can rebuild the existing stadium or refurbish the existing stadium, or we can build a new one. The only basis upon which we can build a new one is if it is part of this government regeneration scheme for
which they probably have approval and they're going to announce today.
For South Manchester, because we can't afford to regenerate southern Manchester. That's too big a bill for the club.
Listen to this.
We can build a stadium.
We can build a stadium, but the regeneration will be on Manchester United's PLC land, but regeneration will be sponsored by the British government and the local council as well. That means that even if you own the land bank, you're actually leasing the land, but you're actually taking service charges. You will build cinemas. You will be, you know, after the game, go for entertainments, pubs, everything. It's going to be a total regeneration regarding Old Trafford. And this is how they're going to reduce the debt at the end of the day.
We don't need any government funding for that stadium, but it has to be the underpin for the regeneration. Yeah. And
the stadium is the underpin for the regeneration. I think I heard enough of this interview, and I'm just going to add my summary to it. You know, at the end of the day, I want to come to the main topic of this video. We spoke about the debt. How are you going to sort of reduce the debt? He said it himself here. We going to invest in this stadium. Ineos himself. They're going to put in 2 billion. How it cost. It's apparently the greatest stadium ever been built. There's been some leaks coming out here, according to Twitter as well. This is going to be announced today. On the other hand, the government is coming in as well to regenerating the area, which is creating a lot of jobs. They're going to build shopping malls, pubs, entertainment centers. They're going to host probably 100,000 stadium that's going to be built. You can have rock concerts, NBA, a lot of things, yeah? This is going to generate a lot of money, which is going to reduce the debt at the end of the day. But something that I want to talk about, which I mentioned, is debt to equity. This is what I've been hearing for a long time. I've been saying this with Bilal Yogi over 1 year ago when we spoke about the potential hostile takeover. Knowing that the Glazers is not going to sort of put in one single penny of their own, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, what they can do is something called debt to equity, meaning they put in 200 million. This is a infrastructure build. This doesn't go on FFP or PSR or anything. You're allowed to build, you know. If you pump in 200 billion of your own pockets, guess what? Out of this 200 million, you do something called debt to equity, meaning that the 2 billion, you go to the Glazers and you acquire more Class B shares. So eventually, this is an incremental model, which I think that they had in mind, the project Regeneration. That's what they went in on a low bid on 25%. That kind of explains it, because the overarching long vision is to build a stadium, the Regeneration, use this debt to equity to acquire the remaining of the whatever it takes, 30% to have majority, and the Glazers will be minority holders, and eventually fizz them out. Do you see what I see? You know, does it make any sense to you guys? So this is the overarching master plan, in my opinion. And this is becoming more clearer, because he said, I'm not going to sort of throw my money into their debt, but what I'm going to do is to build the stadium. And that stadium is going to be an equity, which is going to be utilized for me to get more Class B shares and control on Manchester United. Why else would you throw in 200 billion to build a stadium? Yeah? Why else? I want to hear from you. And also the tickets from revenue he spoke about, that is the unnecessary evil that needs to be done. I don't agree with that 100%. He debunked basically to say that 500 tickets that went on a sale for 66 quid was recession tickets. And he said, basically, we can look at that in the future, but right now, this is what we have to do. You know, we have to fix the foundation. We have to stop the bleeding. We've been spending more money than actually generating the money. And I get that from a business perspective. From a club perspective, what does that mean? We need to go and recruit the right type of players. No more, you know, mismatched players, no more shirt sellers. Back to Ruben Amorim, and it looks like Ruben Amorim is going to be the man to lead the plan. But in the background, what they have to do is to stabilize the club before we go bankrupt. This is my take on it. I want to hear from you. Let me know what you're thinking, because this is the only way. Either you just go, like, we cannot do this, right? Come November, we go bankrupt, we put everything for sale, but who knows who's going to buy it? Will it be another financial institution like another bloodsucker that doesn't really care about United? This interview, in a way, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It seems like he genuinely cares. And he says, this is not my debt, but this is my plan, what I want to do. At least, hear me out. At least he spoke out. At least he explained himself. At least he gave us a little vision, a glimpse of the future. When he spoke about the football, he didn't really understand the football, but what he understands is what needs to be done. 1 year into the ownership, we can be criticizing that, yeah, why are you cutting all the costs? Why are you doing what you're doing? It's been fucking dire. Yeah. But it is what it is, and we are stuck with them. So the proof will be in the pudding here. You know, the proof will be in the pudding. Most of the income comes from the TV rights, the ticketing sales, and the merchandising. But imagine, like, you know, when you are building a stadium, which is going to be 100,000 seaters, right? The state-of-the-art stadium, apparently it's going to be announced today. The January income, the income will increase, and this is how you're going to service the debt eventually, right? But again, how you're going to get majority of control is something called debt to equity. If you put in 2 billion of your own money, something that is not going for the debt, but it's going to infrastructure, then you require more Class B shares. Let me know your thoughts and feelings regarding this. Question, according to Stephanie Griffith, when Ed Glazer came to game on Sunday, who paid for his flight? Fuck me if I know. That was, at least he felt the anger of the fans. I've seen a lot of people saying that, well, what was the purpose of this protest? It was a very successful protest. It was a lot of people, you know, turning out. There was a lot of people that didn't understand that this was a kickstart of something bigger, you know. At least we gave the benefit of the doubt. But, you know, the whole protest is to understand, where is the debt going? How are we going to service the debt? What about the ticketing prices? You know, it's all about money, 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 money. And throwing money at a problem, it's necessary evil. We need to do that. I certainly don't want fucking a club to be relegated. I certainly don't want a club to cease to exist. I'm a fucking 45-year Manchester United fan supporter, legacy. You know, I live and breathe for this club, like everyone else, like you. And when he spoke about who's the legacy fan, you know, he says match sticking going fan. Fuck you. Like I wake up 3 a.m. in the morning to fucking watch the game. This is like insane. You know, Manchester United is the biggest fan club in the world. We are no longer the biggest team in the world, but we are the most spoken club in the world. And I do fucking hope that you, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, can turn this around, because he ain't going anywhere, in my opinion. He ain't going anywhere. Let me see what you guys say. The 10-year plan. Yeah. But what we care about is fix the fucking debt, right? Deliver what you promised. Put Manchester back into the Manchester, winning trophies again. Fucking fix the debt, because we want to be debt-free. And how are you going to do it ain't my fucking problem, Sir Jim. You have to do it. And how are you going to fix the Glazers to fizz them out? Obviously, I mentioned it. Debt to equity, building the stadium, eventually trigger them like a 5-year plan, like you go in the transfer market, amortization. This year, next year, this year, acquire more Class B shares. So CBK saying, I'm 55 years old and I live and breathe the United all my life. Same as me, mate. Same as me. And I am absolutely sick to my teeth. There's no way we can sugarcoat it. We've been spinning around in circles, and some people say, sack Amorim, do this, do that, being emotional. But if you do that, we're back to square one again, peeps. Anyway, I just want to sort of give my reaction to it. I'm sort of did a hard stop. I'm traveling and I'm off to Vietnam tomorrow morning. I just want to sort of come in there and give my analysis to it. Cool and composed, applying logic and reason to it without being a little bit reactionary. But you got to look at the situation. You got to look at the financial figures at the moment. And if you run a business, if you're spending more money that you earn, of course, you got to do the necessary measures to survive. And that means that you have to cut over bloated staff. It is what it is. That's the reality. And of course, you got to increase. Somehow you got to generate money. You have to increase a little bit prices in order to survive. But I don't know, man. All I want is deliver. That's all I care about. And my scrutiny is still on Ineos, Ratcliffe, and I can judge it on the first year of operation, and I do understand it. But what I do credit for is that they put their hand up to say, we fucked up. By sacking Ten Hag, we fucked up. By sacking Ashworth, we also fucked up. Yeah? So, the takeaway here is that the Glazers never spoke to us in this way. At least we have somebody to come out and say, you can call it PR spin, but at least we have some sort of clarity. At least we have some sort of to discuss about and some form of vision. Yeah, Vietnam. I've never been, so I'm going there, BB. So I'm going to do a travel football episode as well, to do some recordings. Anyway, big up everyone. I just want to come into your comments as well. It's been me ranting along. Stephanie Griffith is saying, I've always thought it is the Glazers aim to change everything. Worldwide United fan money to watch United games on TV. That's why we are still here. More money, plain and simple. But anyway, let me know your thoughts and feelings regarding this. There's been so much to unpack and so much emotions flowing around. Yeah, I do understand Goldbridge's rant. Like, you know, you should have asked the question, why did you save the Glazers? I think he answered it. Like, you know, he generally is a fan. What he said, he generally wants to sort of mop things up. But in order to do so, what he said, you have to fix the foundation and change. People not like change. I'm a change management. I work with change management. And I do understand when you implement change, you got to get a lot of resistance and you got to get a lot of unpopular opinions. But I'm willing to go through this pain for long-term gain. And I'm willing to sort of give them a little bit of a benefit doubt and see where we are. Because basically the situation is what the situation is. This is my stance on it. But still, Glazers out, Ineos out, Ratcliffe out, until they prove us that we can doubt. Anyway, that's just my take on it. Big up for everyone that's tuning in. And yeah, let me know in the non-live comment section. I am done having my say. Hopefully, I made you a better day. Please don't forget, if up to you, if you want to like and subscribe, please do so. Listen, I started a few comments here, which I want to say. Jolmamin was saying here, the numbers on their own actually shows that Jim was not lying. True. I agree. Because I look at the figures. I look at, you know me, I always follow the money in the financial figures. And Almac was saying at the end of the day, I take bankruptcy. The administration would have sold the club and be in the highest bidder. Listen, something with administration is if you go into administration, mate, you lose the name Manchester United. You lose everything, man. And I don't want us to get into administration. One thing is we get into relegation, which we're not going to do either way this season. Potentially they will sell. But I certainly believe at the end of this stream, the summary is that if you are a shrewd billionaire like Ineos, you're not just going to throw money at it without expecting anything. So I think the long-term strategy for Ineos is here with this building the stadium is the debt to equity to acquire more Class B shares to have full control of United and eventually phase out the Glazers. This has been my say. Hopefully I make sense of this day. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. I will be back on Thursday. I'm traveling. I'm going to do an episode in Vietnam, travel football, which is something new that I started to do. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this morning stream. It might be too heavy, but please have another coffee on me. Glory, glory, Manchester United. Glazers out until we green and gold, until we're sold. Thank you for watching. Beautiful people, stay beautiful and humble. See you to the next one. Bye.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching MUFC Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.
Oh, and please let me know in the non-live comment section what you think. Come with your suggestions. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching.